Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where our commitment is to help, hope, and healing of our veteran family and our nation. I'm Jim Blythe, a U.S. Navy veteran and a certified senior advisor. Join us as we continue the mission of leadership and commitment to our communities and our great country. Why, you never know where we're going to go or who you're going to meet. We invite you to join in, plug in, and share in what we do. This is your Veterans Impact Show. Welcome aboard. Hey, I got a great day. I have a great friend who is joining us today, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about him in a minute, but I want to introduce you to my co-host, Cedric White. Cedric, I so enjoyed this Sunday's sermon, and you know, we have been learning so much since we joined your church. I just want to say thank you for all you do, and thank you for all you do being my co-host.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Jim. Thank you for having me, and thank you for having this guy.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Okay. Chuck Wright, United States Marine Corps, helicopter pilot, SAR rescue pilot, unbelievable veteran who has been involved in so many things. He actually started Alliance for the Brave, and I was brought in, and he and I took off and ran with it, and then he got involved with the Texas Veterans Commission.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up staying with it, but he has been a constant. If you go through our intro, you're going to see his picture more than once.
Right.
Chuck, you have been so great to not only help us, but help so many veterans in all the things you do for veterans. Commissioner of the Texas Veterans Commission. You ran the Toys for Tots one year. And here's the thing, you had a lot more hair before you did that too.
Okay, I'm leaving. That's all right. I'm used to being surrounded by squids.
There you go.
And, like Howard Cosell said, spitballs at a battleship.
Here's the other thing. You have done so much for veterans in the state of Texas, the Marine Corps League, the Dallas Homeless Shelter, or the Dallas
Homeless Veteran Services.
Yeah.
Homeless Veteran Services of Dallas.
Okay.
You got me back going backwards. Yeah. Which is now the Veteran Resource Center. And I'll talk about that as we get further into the show. That's a great organization.
That is. And then here's another good thing. You introduced me to Ermey. And he came to Dallas and spoke at one of those deals for Ken Watterson. You were in the process of writing a book. Yep. So as we go through this conversation today, you're going to want to stay with us because we're going to talk about a great book, a great Marine, and then we're going to talk about Chuck, another Marine.
Spitballs keep singing by.
All right. First and foremost, Texas Veterans Commission Commissioner. You were on the benefits board before you became a commissioner.
Yes.
You know more about the benefits. And this year, the Texas Veterans Commission, May 31st, gave away, wasn't that it?
We didn't give away. We awarded.
Oh, awarded. Okay. Grants.
Yeah.
Of $40,800,000. Look on the deal.
There we go.
There you go.
You said that, and I was like going, okay, most people would say $40.8 million, but yes.
Okay. Yes. And that's you.
That's me with the chair, Laura Kerner, who is a Naval Academy grad. She was also a classmate of our mutual friend, Clint Bruce.
Oh, really?
Navy SEAL, yes, and founder of Carry the Load. So, yeah. So it's a small military that we operate in. She's been a great chair. But it's the May meeting. It has now turned into a marathon session every year. Our meetings are usually 3 to 4 hours. These both went the last 2 years about 6 hours as we try to get money. And we were talking before the show, and I wanted to kind of talk about this because there is a whole process that the veterans in the state can be part of. So we award the money, but we don't just toss it out like manhole covers. We actually look at a couple of things. So the state of Texas is broken into 8 regions for veterans. up here in North Texas, we're Region 8, which, interestingly enough, is the largest region in veteran population. If you think about it, makes sense. We've got all the defense contractors up here. Bexar County, by a rather large margin, is the largest county for veterans in the state. But as you get out away from Bexar County, San Antonio, you start to get into more and more rural counties, whereas DFW, we're pretty dense. And we're not getting any less dense. So, but anyway, we have 8 regions. And what we do is we do a survey every other year, biannually, that actually asks the veterans in that region, what are your needs? And it was really interesting. This year, we saw several that were one of the 9 things that we do, that we have directors that run programs at TVC, is what I call the Vetrepreneur Tribe. They call it their entrepreneur division, but what we're trying to do is to help grow veteran businesses. And in another interesting development Friday, I was already committed to speak to the Dallas Women's Veterans Day and the City of Dallas VREG, the Veteran Employee Resource Group. But in San Antonio, we opened what's called a Super VBOC.
Wow.
So I couldn't get down there for that, but this is all geared to that entrepreneur section. So we had several that were asking for entrepreneur support. Clinical counseling is another big one. And I know we're going to talk about this in a minute as we get into the whole PTS. Like W. Bush, I like to drop the D, but as long as you're saying it's a disorder and not a disease. Disease implies something organic. Disorder is as a result of an outside event. A lot of people get that wrong. This is PTSD Awareness Month. And I like to talk in terms of veteran mental health. We're going to talk about one of the projects that we're working on that we're going to partner, and I say we, the Texas Veterans Commission, with Texas Parks and Wildlife and with the Texas Veterans Land Board. We're going to do ruck marches at all the state parks in September, and that's coming up. You'll see more and more about that. But I like to talk about the mental health aspect. I don't like using the S word. And one of the reasons I don't is I believe, this is my personal opinion, that we have made the S word an option. It's not an option, folks. There's a picture that our wonderful producer, Diane Blythe, Jim's much better half, and I've known him for a while.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And your wife, Michelle.
And my wife, Michelle, who may or may not be listening to the show. She's getting ready. I got to take her to the airport. She's leaving me again to go back to Washington to hang out with her family. And my father-in-law, who unfortunately passed last Memorial Day of all days, was a Navy veteran as well. I was surrounded by squids. What is up with that? A lot of Army down in our Texas Veterans Commission offices and our agency offices. But I love the fact that we're concentrating more and more on mental health. And I know for guys, it's, somebody else needs it more than I do. I'm macho. I don't have to deal with that. That's all a load of crap.
Exactly.
And some of the strongest combat veterans I know will tell you that.
Right.
So I'm going to segue real quickly, and then I'm going to come back to the grants, because I know you want to talk about that, and that's a great thing to talk about.
I think talking about the traumatic stress, that's important too. So stay with it.
Well, and this is kind of where I'm going with this. One of our divisions is mental health, one of our 9 divisions. And one of the programs that we support and train, and I still haven't figured out, we're sort of kind of taking them over, but they all kind of work for the counties. But it's the veteran, MVPN, Military
Peer Network.
Peer Network. Thank you. There's too many anagrams out there for me to remember. I got this Marine brain that thinks in crayons, and crayons take up a lot more room. Anyway, absolutely great programs around the state. Now, this is not clinical counseling. This is a peer network, but it is a great place to start, where veterans can kind of connect, and then they know the resources. And I'm going to brag about the one in Denton County because I likely know it best. But Casey Brown, another Marine, of course it's run well, and Becca Hobby, who's the spouse of an Army vet, run that center. And they've also got 3 different equestrian therapy groups that they support. So one of the grants that we'll put out there is we'll support equestrian therapy. And the thing I like about that is they actually will have professional clinical counselors. But to quote Reagan, there's nothing better for the inside of a man than the outside of a horse.
You know, that is so true. And we've had General D's and Valor Ranch, which set up the program for Valor, Texas, with the John Roach, Sheriff Skinner, and Judge Roach.
Yeah.
They helped them with a lot of the information for that. And basically, you're right, because there's something about horses that can sense people's mental health, and horses can bond with you. I had a horse many years ago, and I mean, shoot, it turned into like a giant puppy dog, followed me everywhere.
They are amazing creatures.
They are amazing creatures. But the important thing is we're working in the Texas Veterans Commission, and now with the MVPN, which is the Military Peer Veterans Network. And I went through the training program when another Marine, Scott Smith, put it on.
Yes, boy Scott.
Yeah. And now he's completely retired.
Completely retired. But let me tell you, that is one individual. If you want to read somebody's Facebook page that always has a positive comment, that always has a good word to say, that is always going to give you an expression with a little bit of insight, I love me some Scott Smith.
Yeah, man, he's right up there with the very best.
Yep.
Cedric, you were going to comment about the PTSD to
PTG.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even before we get there, Chuck, back to the grants that you've given, right? And you mentioned something about a female group that you had. And my question to you is, because what we've experienced from female vets, it seems that they're more reluctant to seek help. Now, again, guys, right? We're prideful, and it takes a little bit to get us in. But I think it's the sheer numbers that causes more men to seek help than women. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, it's like Mark Twain said: lies, damn lies, and statistics. So you can massage that number, but as a general rule, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said just by sheer numbers, because there is basically, it's one female veteran, generally speaking, for 5 male veterans. And I'm sorry if this offends somebody, but in this podcast, we only have 2 genders. We're going to recognize at this point in time. Which is interesting, because I don't know if you remember this. I'm going to tell a little joke about that. We had a trans Marine on our show way back when. Do you remember him?
No, I don't.
Oh, man, that was funny. So I'm sitting there trying to talk to him. And you know what? I get that. And I don't want to leave anybody out. He earned his title Marine. And if he wants to go down that road, more power to it. Yeah, that's not my place to tell him where he's wrong. But where we do want to go, and it was funny, we were talking back to the grants. So we've been doing equestrian grants, and thanks to a slight change, we answered to the Texas legislature. Thanks to a slight change, we are now providing service dogs for veterans, and I'm working on something, a proposal that will double the number of service dogs, because I don't think we're doing it quite right. But it's one of those things that we can change. But I want to make sure. I'm also working with the City of Fort Worth and Tarrant County to develop a program for them, although I'm kind of more just in an advisory role over there and pointing them in the right places. But adding service dogs is another way to help deal with. And from what I understand, there's quite a backlog of veterans.
Oh,
in
it's
Texas
huge.
looking for.
You know, Fairway has the American Warrior Initiative, and Louise Thaxton out of Louisiana runs that. Her husband was an Army vet.
Yeah.
And basically, they have given away over 450 dogs.
Wow.
And these are not just puppies. I mean, these are extremely highly trained service dogs that can do all kinds of things depending upon the veteran's needs.
Right.
And these are doggone expensive.
And so TBC is starting to engage more in that arena.
Well, this coming year will be our third year. And everybody's looking at watches. Okay, we've got about 2 minutes. Wow, I can actually produce this show now. No, yeah, Cedric's got this great piece of gear over here that's actually giving us a countdown. And I'm like, why did we never have that before? Anyway, the American Dog Institute, is it? ADI. And the AD are capitalized and the I is small. But that is the governing body of certification. So we really like the fact that we're getting these ADI certified dogs. But to your point, they are in fact trained. Now, I want to make a distinction because this is going to be important when I make my recommendation. You have, I don't want to call it a basic service dog, but it's trained to a certain level. But you can take a dog and you can train them up. And this is fascinating. And I knew about this. One of my son's Eagle Scout partners needed a dog that could smell. He was a type 1 diabetic, smell his blood sugar levels. And I'm sitting here thinking, how in the wide world of sports does a dog understand blood sugar levels? Dogs like that are about twice as expensive to train. I'm hearing these.
No, that's okay. You weren't with me when I actually had a lady who was from Bonham, who was a deputy sheriff, who raised and trained those dogs. And that was unbelievable. And
Talking about that baguette?
Yes, you set me up with that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll tell you what.
Careful of words, set him up.
Okay.
That context, that can be all wrong, folks.
Okay. Hey, we're going to take a break quick. We're going to hear from our partners. This is Veterans Impact Show. Cedric and I have the great Chuck Wright, and I do mean great. And thank you for being on board. We'll be right back.
Say that.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
All right, Chuck, we were talking about, Cedric, the PTS, and talking about TVC getting service dogs, and you're 3 years into it. So this is something you're going to be working with certified dogs. And how could somebody apply to get a dog? Is there a way on the website?
So my recommendation, and this will be the only advice I will give people, and I'm going to give everybody the same advice. There's a story behind that I won't go into on the air. The first thing I recommend you do is you go out to the Texas Veterans Commission site, and then there's a tab at the top called Grants. Pull that up, and there are going to be some basic videos. Now, we're going to update the videos. The grant window will not open until, I want to say, September, October timeframe. It's in the second half of the year. And so these are the grants for the following fiscal year. And we run now on a fiscal year, just like the federal government. But I really recommend you watch those grants and pay attention to it. We've made the process simpler so you can apply online. You don't necessarily need a grant writer, but I will say this, please pay attention to every block, fill it in completely, read it carefully. Our grants, I'm going to make no bones about this, they are onerous. It is a difficult process to get in, it is a difficult process to track. We're not just going to hand you a check. It doesn't work that way. This is state money, and we're going to account for it at the end of every month. There are also reimbursement grants. So one of our qualifications is you have to have a 60-day reserve of your annual spend set aside, because we're not going to give you grants. So what will happen will be you're going to go through and you're going to have your grants. And if you get the grant on the 1st of October, you start spending the money. You get to the end of the month and you've got to submit your receipts online to us, and then we're going to reimburse you money. And I always tell people, stay on top of this. It's going to take us 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to get the first check out. But once we've done that, the cycle's complete. It will be pretty steady, pretty quickly coming to you. But realize we're always going to be paying you a reimbursement in arrears. So we're always going to be trailing a month.
We're not going to pull a California.
No, we are not California. California wishes they had this program, and if they hadn't tried to do a train, and it was funny you mentioned that, and I'm going to pick on California a little bit. They're trying to do a train, and if you understand the logistics of where rail works and where it doesn't work at that length. It is so much more time and cost effective to take a plane. But if you come to Texas and you look at the idea, and they tried to do this, I don't think it's going to happen, but it would have been a great idea. If you're going from Dallas to Houston, from Houston to San Antonio to Austin, back to Dallas, that is almost the perfect length where rail is more efficient and effective than air. And it makes sense. Everybody's got their sweet spot.
Right.
California was just trying to go, to quote the old military movie, a bridge too far.
Yeah.
And that's just way too far.
But Chuck, if you did a Japanese style bullet train,
Yep.
You're looking realistically about an hour to Houston.
Yeah.
Okay. By the time you go through the airport, go through check-in, all that jazz, get on the plane, and you get off the plane at Houston Hobby, you're a little more than an hour.
You're actually at about 3 hours.
Ouch.
So they're in anyway. We don't need to talk
All right,
about that.
let's
We're here to
go
talk
back.
about
Can I get
veterans.
back to the grants?
Oh,
Because I
grants.
want to ask a question.
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question.
He's
in
got a
reference
question.
To a person first time. They've never done it before. They're a vet, or they want to provide veteran services. What would you say would be the most difficult aspect of getting engaged with TBC and getting awarded a grant?
Okay, so first things first, your nonprofit on the day you submit that grant request has to be 2 years old.
Okay,
That's just a requirement.
great to know.
We're not here to help veterans stand up grants. On
Right.
the other side of the coin, these grants, and let me, if I may go backwards just a step,
Sure.
this $40 million that we awarded in grant requests, by us giving this money to organizations who are already doing great work for veterans, it is so much more cost effective for the state to make that grant work harder, go farther, as opposed to us building up some big bureaucracy. We're trying to keep the bureaucracy down. So it is a great program that way. The probably the hardest thing for a first time, you've been there 2 years, go through, we're going to walk you through what the different categories are and where you fit, and apply for that. Now, I'm not supposed to say this, but I always tell grant requestees, don't go in and ask for the maximum grant.
Right.
It just looks like you're carpet bombing. Oh, you give us all this money, make sure that you can spend it. Start low, develop your reputation with us, do a $50,000, do $100,000 grant. Now, if you have a legitimate need that's $400,000, then yeah, ask for $400,000 and justify it. So the hardest part is kind of getting through that process the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I say read each block, that online request, go through it. And remember, we're going to redo the webinars as we get closer to grant time, so they are more specific, because every year we tweak the rules just a little bit. We have changes we have to make, but we try to make it easy. don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call the staff. Generally speaking, they're very, very good with things. I am certainly trying to push the concept of customer service better. At the end of the day, we're a state agency. We're going to act like it sometimes, but I promise you, this is the agency that is laser focused on veterans. Over 85% of our employees are veterans. That is the reason we get up in the morning. So that's that first part of that process. But don't be afraid to do it. And if you don't get it recommended this time, don't be afraid to do it next time.
I think that's great to know. Tell you what, we're going to take another break to hear from all of our partners. This is your Veterans Impact Show. Follow us, join us, be a part of it. This is important. Share this with other people so that they can get that information. What? Subscribe. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't think of that word, you know. All right, we're going to be right back after these words from all of our partners. Again, this is Chuck Wright. He's worthy to listen to.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
I need to say a special thank you to the Hope Center for setting up and allowing us to use this studio. It's really great. We love being here. Cedric, thank you for Healing Thine Hearts Ministry that helps us to get that done. Your Healing Thine Hearts Ministry, you're all about marriage counseling to veterans, and you do a lot to help people out.
Marriage counseling to veterans, marriage counseling to those who are thinking about marriage, right? We like to get them first. Get you premarital. That is so much better. But we do what we can for everybody, even talking about PTSD, focusing on helping people to not stick with the PTSD portion, but to understand that quite often you can go from PTSD to what we call PTG, post-traumatic growth. And that's becoming more of a known factor for those who refuse to stay where they are, right? Yes, you had trauma. Yes, it affected you. But how do you take that trauma and use it to grow? Not just back to where you were, but beyond where you were to help yourself and others. That's PTG.
Love that. That's part of what we do with this program. We also have Symbios Integrative Health. They work on the body in helping you get your mind right and be able to function. And I have seen so many people. So if you want to know more about that, go to Symbios, SYMBIOS, and also Fairway Independent Mortgage, who I work for. My NMLS number is 311548. We're an equal opportunity lender, and I specialize in taking care of seniors. So we've covered all that good stuff, but one of the best is to promote the Texas Veterans Commission. Mm-hmm. We have had you, and we've had the program, the director. It is such an important thing. And Tom Palladino told me that there is a commission in every state. But I was talking with a guy in Oklahoma this weekend, and he said, yeah, we got it, but they can't find they're not that good. And we end up doing all of these
Where
things.
Can't they find you?
I don't want to go there, brother, because my pastor's in here with me. And I think, though, it's important to know that you guys and Tom, really, the leadership, you set the bar for all of the state veterans commissions.
You know, it's like Slim Pickens said in one of those John Wayne movies, you ain't bragging if you can do it.
That's right.
But having said that, that doesn't mean we can't do more, and we're trying to do more. And I wanted to come back and kind of talk just a little bit about the grants. So we have 5 categories that we will take a grant request in. We have a general category, and that's where our entrepreneur programs are. That's where financial aid is. Employment, things of that nature. Employment's becoming more and more important. And we have our own employment division as well.
Would you consider that first one to be sort of that beginning area where
Not really. They're all 5 unique, and as I run through them, I think it'll make more sense.
Okay.
And then we have a separate mental health grant.
Okay.
And this is for clinical counseling. This is for the equestrian programs. The dog program, interesting enough, I think actually fits in the general grant category, which is a little bit of an oddity, but the dog is, it's just kind of approached a little bit differently.
Gotcha.
The third one is, in some ways, it might be one of my favorites. It's Housing for Heroes. So we take, especially for our older veterans, they're living in a home, it might be without air conditioning, it might not be ADA compliant. In other words, they have developed disabilities as they've gotten older. We come in and when we partner with nonprofits, we'll actually fix these homes up. Habitat for Humanity is not building as many homes now as much as they are doing rehabilitation. We've got
Home Depot.
Well, Home Depot, I'm hoping we got conversations started. We'd love for them to come in and match that grant to do more and more. They're certainly a great partner for nonprofit partners. So those are the 3 that are open to any nonprofit. And then we have 2 that are segregated. One is our Veteran Treatment Court Program. And I don't know if you know about that, but you mentioned John Roach. So I got to mention John Roach, who is another Marine. Oh, did I drop that dime? Yes, I did. But he runs
listening to this all day
long. Get ready for it, guys. He runs not 1, but 5 veteran treatment court programs in 5 different counties. In addition, he runs, you mentioned the Valor program, which is effectively a statewide veteran treatment court program that he brings, especially from rural counties that cannot afford to run a veteran treatment court program on their own. He will bring them in and house them in the Collin County Jail and run them through a program. And I have had Christmas dinner with those guys. Okay. And let me tell you, it is humbling, but these people are so positive. They're getting their lives turned around. And it kind of goes back to something you were saying earlier, Cedric, when you're talking about pre and post-marriage counseling with people. You get into it, and let's face it, a lot of people, young people, are getting married for, whatever crazy reason. Yeah. Not going to go down that path. We know what it is. But, then you get married and, you get into the, and where I'm going, the similarity is when you see somebody who gets it in your program because the lights starts to turn on, and they're like, oh, my Lord, I can have a real life with this person. Or the other side of the equation is I'm going the other way. But you know what? That's a decision. And you're still moving forward with your life. These people that are in the Valor program get to move forward in their lives. And then the last program, I shouldn't say last, is our County Veteran Service Officer program. Every county in Texas above a certain population must have at least 1 County Veteran Service Office. And I'm going to brag because I do it every time. I am so proud of the program that Denton County and Paul Batchish is running. They have built the model for a veteran treatment court program. And if other counties have taken that as a slight, you should. You need to model like that. And one county that loves to brag about it, I've got to meet with them a couple of times, is Johnson County is extremely proud of their program. It's smaller. They don't have as many veterans. But it's a little bit of a challenge. And we help all 5 of those categories with funding. Now, if I may throw this in there, and I'm going to come back to you as soon as the survey is ready again. Every biannual, we go out and we ask the veterans in the state what their needs are. So if you're in Collin County, you might have financial aid as a need. Okay. Oddly enough, that didn't make the top 3 in any region in the state this year. Entrepreneur services, employment services. So there's this whole litany of things. Clinical counseling is in fact a big one. And I want to say from memory, every one of the 8 regions, we had a top 3 listed. Every one of the 8 regions, I believe, had clinical counseling. So we want the veterans to tell us, and I'm going to come to y'all as soon as we're ready for this, and I want to push it out hard. I'd love to double the number of responses that we get, that veterans are telling us these are our top 3 needs.
Well, let's do that, because we know all the people with the VFWs and the American Legion and the Vietnam veterans. So let's help you do that. Now, I want to take a 90-degree rabbit hole for a second, because what you are doing with the Homeless Veteran Services Dallas, I'd like for you to talk a little bit about that and then segue into your book.
And that is actually a perfect segue. So years ago, Sergeant Major Gene Overstreet, 12th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, and this started out as a Marine heavy, and it'll make sense here in a second. Organization Waterston in 2004 created, and I got to tell the story because he didn't really set out to do homeless veteran services at Dallas. What he was doing was he had gotten 4 vans donated for his use, and he was taking veterans to the VA for their appointments, because one of the problems. So, for example, back in my general grant category, I forgot all about it, but transportation. We provide transportation grants so that veterans can get to their appointments. Out in East Texas, they're getting them to appointments, they're getting them to the grocery store, they're doing all kinds of things with them. And I guess they found out one day they had the bus almost full of veterans, and it was turning into a little bit of a, veterans, we all like to tell stories. They were having so much fun, they'd get to the next stop, wouldn't want to get off the bus. So we love doing things like that. So what he was doing was taking these veterans, and he was getting money donated for gas and all of this. Well, the VA realized this was a problem, and now they provide vouchers for transportation. But what they had done, what Ken had done, is he went to talk to it was our friend
Jeff
Milligan. Thank you. Yes. And we hope Jeff is doing well. We're shout out for the prayers. He's had a little battle with that nasty C word. And I won't say on the air what I think of the C word, but I'll move on down that you guys can figure it out. So Jeff said, listen, I've got an old guard armory over here that we own. We're not doing anything with. Why don't you go park them over there? He goes, great. Well, he starts noodling, as Ken is prone to do. And he goes, we could turn this into a facility. And he goes back to Jeff, and Jeff says, well, yeah, we're going to start doing transportation vouchers. So you probably you probably can put out of business. And he goes, well, why don't I create a homeless day center? So we now have a center where a homeless veteran can come in, and he's fed twice a day, breakfast and lunch. He has laundry facilities. He has shower facilities. I mean, it's an old guard armory. We created a computer center in there, and I use the royal we because I have turned into a major fundraiser for them.
You're on the board?
No, I am absolutely not on the board. I
okay.
cannot be on any board. That gets into conflict of interest.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and but I am. I have done a lot of fundraising, and I am allowed to do that. That is legal. We can all have our quiet causes, and I'm gonna bear with me. I'm gonna go somewhere with
all
this.
Right.
So he starts building this up. Well, he's got a warehouse in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, wait a minute. And he starts talking to Dallas College, and Dallas College says, we're happy to help you come in and do a program where you're providing forklift training and welding school. And we're certifying these veterans as apprentice welders. Well, they turn around and walk out the door, and they're making $20, $25 an hour on the jump. Within 5 years, they've hopefully grown up and gotten more qualified. They're making about $50 an hour. Okay. You're making real money.
Right.
You've got an opportunity to do something, but it's become very much an opportunity center. We're doing computer classes. We've added plumbing this year, all through Dallas College. So this is all certified and accredited and blessed and all that good stuff. And he's turned it into something significant. Now, you mentioned Home Depot. Home Depot comes in, and Ken got recommended, and they came in with 400. They had 10 buses full of Home Depot employees
from all over the state,
all over the country.
Oh, really?
They were coming in from all over the country on their own time.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, it looked like a bunch of ants descended on the facility, and they put in landscaping, and they painted, and they did this and they did that. And it's absolutely phenomenal. And by the way, if you're not doing anything Christmas Day this year, come down and see Michelle and I. We will be serving Christmas dinner, not just to homeless veterans. We're serving them too, but any veteran who wants to come down and have dinner. And it's really, really good food. We do this. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Wise Up. If you haven't, I need to get you in touch with Wise Up.
I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal.
What's that deal?
I think I know. I can ask Diane, and I'll bet you we'll be right there alongside you.
Oh,
Come on down, baby.
done.
This was
Done.
this was the first year. My youngest is still at home. It's the first year we were empty nesting because he had to go to work. So I said, "To heck with this. We ain't fixing dinner.
Right.
We'll do dinner one other day over this. Let's go down and let's do something for everybody else." Now, she had a little bit of a family crisis, so she spent most of the time in the parking lot on the phone to her family, which was funny. But we served some meals, and we glad-handed, and we had a great deal of fun. But this is one of the things that, and now it's grown into, and where I was going with this, the Veteran Resource Center. So we came up with an idea. A lot of you will know the name. Do you want to go ahead and throw the picture of Jack and Arlie?
Mhm.
I'll throw the picture up because there we go.
There you go.
That is Arlie Ermey, the infamous Gunnery Sergeant Hartman from Full Metal Jacket, and his brother Jack. And Jack, let me tell you something. Jack might be funnier than his brother,
Oh, really?
and his brother's pretty funny. He's a character, and he's a bit of a legend himself in the telecommunications world. He's another Vietnam vet. He was an Air Force guy. And Lord, he tells me his brother would give him, "You think you guys are catching some flack today?" No.
He was Air Force.
He was Air Force.
He was Air Force.
Yeah.
He worked on B-52s, and that somehow got him into telecommunications, and he became a legendary telecommunications executive. He is a dear friend, but he and I met at his brother's funeral. I was honored to be asked to attend it, and the night before, some of my friends, I use the word friends loosely because these guys developed the Arlie Ermey Memorial Golf Classic that we just had. It was great fun again this year. We're going to promote it even more for next year because we're growing that puppy up. But we have honored for 7 years now the late, great Arlie Ermey with a golf tournament. Well, along the way, Jack and I became very good friends. I spoke with him yesterday, as a matter of fact, as we catch up and play phone tag and do all of that stuff. He had a great time. And if you go to the Arlie Ermey Memorial Golf Classic page on Facebook, you will see some hilarious pictures.
Gunny golf.
Gunny golf.
All
Gunny
right.
golf, baby.
I tell you what, I'm going to interrupt you because we got to take a break. This is too important. We're going to come back and talk about not only your relationship, but the book you're writing, because I think it's going to be a real home run, a real chance, especially for a lot of Vietnam veterans to read. So this is your Veterans Impact Show. Join us, share, and subscribe, right, Cedric?
Subscribe.
And take a look at Healing Thine Heart's Ministry. We'll be right back after these words.
Welcome back, and thanks to our great sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage, Healing Thine Heart's Ministry, and Symbios Integrative Health. Now, let's get back to this conversation.
You know, guys, we ought to do this more often, the three of us, because we're having too much fun.
Time flies.
Yeah,
It is a good time.
it is a good time. And it has been, you know, when we got this thing started, January of 2015 was in about the second week.
Yep.
You'd already done one.
Yep.
And I got the call And I sat down and I'm like, wow, how much fun. But you know what I realized, Chuck?
What's that?
Is I got to know you way back in 2015. You introduced me to Clint Bruce. You introduced me to Jim, who did Heroes on the Water.
Jim Dolan.
Jim Dolan.
The late, great Jim Dolan, another Air Force guy.
Okay, the more I learned, the more I knew we needed more communications to talk about things like we're doing today. Now, I think this is important because we're going to have Chuck back on to talk more about Texas Veterans Commission over the next few weeks and months. But right now, I don't want to keep interrupting you. Your book. Tell us a little bit about your book.
So we had just mentioned the Arlie Ermey Memorial Classic. So I'm going to give you another Facebook page. It's called The Gunny, and that will be the title of the book, The Gunny. Arlie Ermey became the Gunny. He was medically retired from the Marine Corps as a staff sergeant, and he passed away in 2018. In January of 2019, they had his funeral at Arlington Cemetery, where I got to meet the late Commandant of the Marine Corps, Al Gray, Ken Waterston, and I, who has become also a very close friend. We were there, and that's where we started the golf tournament. So as I mentioned, for 7 years, we've been trying to honor him. Through this relationship, Bill Davis, who I was literally on the phone with on the drive down here, who is the CEO of Young Marines, that Arlie Ermey was a spokesman for. He was a spokesman for the Veteran Resource Center, but he did more with Young Marines, and rightfully so. It's an incredible program. But as we're kind of going along through time, it was 2.5 years ago, and I got this crazy notion in my head. Nobody has written Arlie Ermey's biography. He sort of kind of almost did, he did a half biography and half self-help book. It's called Gunny's Rules. And
that's a good book.
It is a great book. We are going to pull from that heavily. We're going to pull from over by Diane is a copy of Stanley Kubrick's Archives. And everybody thinks their own baby is the cutest thing in the world. So I have a very jaded opinion of my book because I think it is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to tell the Full Metal Jacket story. We're going to take our readers on the journey to follow Arlie's life as he got into the Marine Corps growing up, as he did all of his things, as he went to Vietnam, as he was injured in a rocket attack that he never reported. Thus, he does not have a Purple Heart because it never got done. But unfortunately, as the war wound down, the Marine Corps was getting smaller, and the first guys to go were all the guys who were nursing. They eventually found out he was injured, but anyway. But there's this entire journey that he goes on. It's fascinating. We're going to talk about some of the backstories, some of the movies he was in, some of the people that he worked with, including Dale Dye. If you don't know who Dale Dye was, he was the silver-haired battalion commander, regimental commander in both Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers. I've gotten to meet him and his wife. They're absolutely incredible. They wrote, Janice actually wrote a book about Marine NCOs that Arlie raved about in his book. He absolutely loved it. They never asked him to do it. They weren't the best friends in the world. I mean, they didn't run around all the time. But, man, if there was a time to play some golf, and Gunny loved his golf. Mm-hmm. For him, a round wasn't 18, it was 36. Right. And if there was enough daylight, he'd go 54. But we're working on the book. Like I said, the page is called The Gunny. Advanced copies are going to go on sale very soon as we get the website built. We're working on that literally right now. Super excited. There's going to be some hilarious backstories in it. One of them coming out of the movie Saving Silver, which I'm not going to give it away right now. But it's going to be well worth reading, and you're just going to shake your head at some of it and laugh. But he literally, and Stanley Kubrick talked about it, he made the first half of Full Metal Jacket into one of the best movies Stanley Kubrick did.
And that was what was so interesting. He was not hired as an actor. He was hired as an advisor. And didn't he say, hey, you ain't got it right. Let me show you how to do it. And they just bang.
That he referred to as Plan Baker.
Yeah.
And he executed Plan Baker brilliantly. But as Jack's picture is still up, I have to give a shout out to Jack, because Jack has been, from the minute I said, what do you think about this idea? Jack has been on board. We certainly have gotten pushback like any book is going to get. But we have marined forward. I don't want to say soldier forwarded, but we've marined forwarded. And we think we've got something that's going to be a great read. We think it's going to do well. And a nice portion of the proceeds is going to go to support young Marines, because right now they need it. If there's one ask I can say, if you've got a congressman on the hook, pick up the phone and call him or send him an email and say, why in the wide world of sports is the government not funding young Marines?
Well, it's not only young Marines, but it's Sea Cadets.
Sea Cadets is getting funded. They just need more. And I've been lobbying for that too.
Okay.
Tom, you didn't hear me say I was lobbying for that.
All right, guys, we have had a wonderful day. We're going to have another one or two or three before this is all over with this year. But Pastor Cedric,
Yes, sir.
I'd really like to call on you to close us with a prayer, because we've got a mission.
Gladly. Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for just people like Chuck, organizations like the Texas Veteran Commission. And we ask that you continue to bless those who support our military, our veterans, Lord, and give them all that we need, ideas, concepts, visions to help our people, and let this country remain one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In your name, amen.
Chuck, thank you, brother. Thank you for
Thanks,
being
sir.
here and making this great. Have a great day. Thank you, and share. Be a part of the Veterans Impact Show. It's your show too. Thank you, and have a great day.